D-man.
In this video, we're addressing the myth of the average penile size.
What did he say?
That's right. So a lot of studies out there say that the average is 5.3, 5.5, and I'm thinking that that's cope.
Yes, you're coping and seething.
Yeah, we're addressing the cope today. So what we're gonna do today is actually go and look at the studies, use our old friend ChatGPT to go through the studies and figure out if my theory is correct, that this is actually a myth and the average size is probably closer to 6. So we're gonna go ahead and look at the data. It's gonna be a nice and informative video, and hopefully we'll learn something. We'll both learn something. So before we get started though, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you check out my Patreon if you want one-on-one coaching. And if you want the best automatic pump in the game right now, it's called the Smart Track. Go ahead and pick it up. There's a link in the description below, along with a 10% coupon code for 10% off. That's on top of any sort of offers that they have running on the site already. So go ahead and check that out. So
Good product, top of the line.
yeah, so it's going to be a super interesting video. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to go ahead and ask it, what is the average penile size based on non-self-reported data? Show me the studies that you use. Show the measurements using inches. Because we're in America, goddammit. So I wanted it inches. I don't want to be doing the conversion myself. We looked at the systematic review here. So here is by, I guess this was a systematic review. This is the report, and we're gonna, for the sake of simplicity, we're only going to be looking at length. So we see that the erect length was 5.16. Looking at this Veale study, stretch flaccid was 5.21, which is pretty good. I think this is a good study. This was 15,500 men. There was another one, which was 36,000 men. This was a meta-analysis, so basically an analysis of various studies. This one said that the erect length was 5.45. Interestingly enough, this is actually longer than the stretch length, which was 5.06. And of course, this was done using the standard bone press method. Okay, basically the conclusion is that the average erect length is 5.48. Yeah, so basically that's what many people say that's the average. However, I feel like, you know, when we talk to girls, when we talk to people, I personally never ask girls, like, you know, what is the average D that you ever seen? I have seen some friends talk about it. Girls don't fucking know. Like, they say, like, the last girl was like, my girl's friend was talking about it. She was like, oh yeah, the average is 7 inches. And my girl was telling me this because I wasn't there, but I would have laughed. Like, 7 inches is the average. You're dumb as fuck, you know. But yeah, so it's definitely not. So they say it's 5.5. However, my theory is that it's actually closer to 6, because if you talk to a lot of people and if you look at the forums and all this stuff, you know, and like in popular culture, the average is that it's 6. Okay, so it's, you know, half an inch may not seem like a lot, but I think it matters to a lot of people. And I think like 5.5 is cope. I think it's actually 6, and maybe even slightly bigger, like 6.2. So what I'm going to go ahead and ask is, like, can you break down these studies and measurements based on age cohorts? So let's see if ChatGPT is able to do this. Detailed large sample studies that break down average penile length by age cohorts are rare. Okay, most systematic reviews combine the data between usually that 17 to 80 years without any sort of age. Okay, the largest non-self-reported systematic review of penis measurement by health professionals, so we're gonna just go by this study, says that the erect length is 5.16. Okay, this is ages 17 and up. Yeah, so basically there's no age cohorts, right? Yeah, so there's no large pool clinical penile size data sets that reliably break down erect and flaccid averages into multiple specific both ages, unfortunately. So basically all of these studies just use basically, like, they group everyone into one age pool. I'm gonna say, like, does the penis shrink for older men because of lack of erections and lower testosterone? Which is like kind of something that I feel like everybody sort of knows, right? So the answer is yes, some older men experience a small gradual decrease in penile length, but it's usually modest and not simply because of age. So what is modest, right? So it's about 0.2 to 0.75 inches over many years. This means that as you get older, if you don't take care of your D, that means you don't pump, you don't use it, you're going to lose length over over time, and it's because of fewer erections, the tissue changes, okay, the lower testosterone. I'm going to go ahead and ask, are there any studies that support your answer? Yeah, so again, it sort of seems to be like there are limited studies. So there are peer-reviewed papers that explain aging, vascular changes, linked with changes in penile tissues, health, and erection quality, which can indirectly influence apparent penile size. That the research there isn't a large long-term study directly proven that penile shrinkage in healthy aging men simply due to age, but multiple studies support the mechanisms why this can happen in specific clinical contexts. So basically, aging, mechanism of age-related ED. Yeah, so unfortunately, there's just no data. There is no good data. Like in one end, you are being told that the penis can indeed shrink as you get older, right? And because of these mechanisms, which I just explained, which is the lower testosterone, lack of nocturnal erections, which is going to shrink your penis. And yeah, when you're thinking and comparing yourself with these averages, you're actually comparing yourself with also a group of old men. Okay, is that something that you want? And that's why I think it's a bit of cope, because I think like logically, obviously these men are gonna have poor erection quality, poor elasticity, because of the lack of nocturnal erections. And do you really I really think that these studies, when it comes to the measurements, are just severely lacking. Now, one thing that I want to do is are there any of these studies? So let's look at that Veale study. All right. So here is the what's the PubMed link for that Veale study. We're gonna go ahead and take a look at that. A lot of the time these are like behind paywalls. So let's see if we can get the full text. Okay, and so of course you can't get the full text, but thankfully we have our good old friends at SciHub. So let's go ahead and do that. Hopefully we can pull this. Here we essentially were able to use SciHub to get the actual study itself. So I'm not gonna go through it directly, but what I'll do is go ahead and download it. So I'm gonna go ahead and download it from SciHub, and I'm going to upload it to ChatGPT and see if you can help me analyze the study. Again, it essentially read it. It excluded self-reported sizes, corn industry data, and it was 15,000 for multiple countries. But basically, I believe this was using a injection-induced erection. Let's see what it has to say about age. Yeah, so again, this is crucial. The average penis size is by age or decade. Growth or shrinkage trends with aging. Size variations across adults was large, but not clearly age dependent. They found no clinical meaningful correlation between age and erect length within adult samples. Yeah, this supports the idea that once sizes reach average length is broadly stable across adulthood, but does not prove shrinkage or growth over age. So again, I think the data is super limited. What exactly is significant? It's hard to say, but yeah, so I highly suggest that you go ahead, we're going to look at it. This was a super cursory, we just kind of wanted to see what the study said, what ChatGPT said, and like go through actually like downloading the study. So this was super interesting, so basically, yeah, like I mentioned, when you're measuring when you're being compared to the average, you're actually being compared to the average with a bunch of old men. And I think that's cope. I think that's also why the average is probably closer to 6 inches when you're talking about a healthy person in the dating marketplace that is able to get a good erection. The average is probably going to be closer to 6, because you're skewing the averages with all these older men. So I really think that they should, at the very least, provide the raw data based on age cohorts. And I think that's the true way to prove whether we are coping or not coping when looking at the average PP size. So there you go. Yeah. So anyways, yeah, super quick, super fun. This was just more like a thought experiment. What do you think? What are your conclusions? Do you think we're coping when we're saying that that's the average? Do you think like penile size really doesn't change as you get older? What do you think? So I want you to leave your thoughts and comments down in the comments below and let me know. And with that being said, let's move on to our final thoughts. And there you go. So I think that was super fun, hopefully a little bit informative. I showed you how to use ChatGPT, how to look at the data, but more importantly, how to actually access some of this research papers that are going to be behind a paywall. So hopefully take advantage of that before YouTube takes down this video. I'm joking, that data's out there. SciHub is super cool, super interesting. If you're like me, a nerd, and like to look at all the studies and the raw data directly, so go ahead and look at the study yourself. I think this was super interesting. Again, what do you think? My thoughts is that, again, I think there's a good amount of cope in the average size. So I think that you will lose size as you age. And I myself want to compare myself with other dudes like my age that are in the same dating marketplace that are also seeing the same girls that I'm seeing as I date around, right? So that's kind of what I want to know. So anyways, let me know your thoughts and what you think. Hopefully this was super interesting, kind of an interesting video, I would say. So let me know your thoughts. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more fire content, including more reviews. I have reviews of the HPE hog extender, the new hog extender, so that's super cool. I have a lot more cool interesting videos, so stay tuned. So make sure you hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, check out these other videos which may be relevant to you, and I'll see you next time.